So I got a thing in the post today. It's a Steam controller. It feels weird. Let's try playing some games on it and see how weird. Okay, as I said, we're gonna fucking play some games and see how that goes. So, if you heard the beep, that was me turning on the controller, and now, stuff's happening and I'm not intending it to, because the right analog stick has been replaced with a touchpad, or trackpad, or whatever you have. So, it does weird things sometimes. But I don't know, that might it might work out, depending. Twitch shooters, it might be a lot easier because it's very twitchy. Has very high sensitivity, or it seems like it by default. So, there's a bit of a method for what we're going to be doing. We're going to be playing a few games. Let's start with one that's basically designed to be played with a controller. This is a bad idea. Okay, let's fucking... How do I play this game in big picture? The Steam controller, they recommend you use big picture mode. In fact, let me show you what happens when you don't use big picture mode. As soon as it'll let me. Fucking go back. Fuck off. Let me leave. Let me leave. Let me leave. How do I leave? Oh, return to text. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, so this is with the trackpad. Like I say, bit wazzy with the speed and sensitivity, but kind of makes sense. You better not touch it if you don't mean to, because, you know, it'll move, guaranteed. If you so much as graze it with your thumb, it'll start doing wiggly things. Yep. So, it also basically... it replicates the mouse buttons as well with the trigger buttons. So, for example, I could go... That was hitting the right trigger, not the left. They swapped them over because I guess it makes sense for people to use the right trigger more than the left. So, makes sense to me. So we're going to see how this goes. Not well, I'm guessing, because I haven't set any of this up. Plus it's already set up for audio, so that helps. Seems to be set up automatically to fit my controls. So, let's fuck around with my Let's Play character for the time being. It's not gonna matter at this point. What was I doing with this character anyway? Probably farming ore stones. Sounds like something I'd do. Oh no, I was trying to do the boss. So, oh, that's weird. That's so very weird. Okay. So, the trackpad is not, like, instantaneous. It's sort of very gradual. You put your thumb on it, you move, and then about a second later it will start moving. So, if you... I guess it's set up so that if you do accidentally graze your thumb over it while you're in a game, it won't do anything. That's actually kind of clever now that I think about it. But it makes it a little bit laggy when you're trying to, say, for example, move around the camera like you might. Well, my character's naked, I just noticed that. I'm going to fix that. Needed the speed. Right, and flaming hell. The directional buttons are now a sort of... I know I've seen it before somewhere, and I didn't like it then, and I really don't like it here. But it's sort of like a circular D-pad, so it will click in the different areas, and it feels really fucking awkward. But maybe I'll get used to flaming hell. Got the wrong ones on. Why do I care? I'm doing a demo, who cares? Right, so like I say, it seems to be pretty much set up for whatever you're doing, or at least it has in this case. I don't know whether it'll do that for every game. We're going to find out, because we're going to try some other games that are going to be interesting. to say the least. So yeah, left bumper still does block, right still attack. Okay, so the triggers have two stages to them now. You can sort of depress the trigger, and that apparently works, or you can click, if you can hear that through the mic. And there's actually a click to it at the end of pressing on the trigger. What that's for, I'm not entirely sure beyond... Okay, thinking about it, it might make sense for, like, as I say, games that are not designed to be played with a controller. So for your strategy games, you wouldn't be able to do the just depressing the trigger to do something. You would have to hit the click for it to be a button input. Just kind of clever. We'll see how that works out when we get to those games, but might feel a little weird. Holy crap, I still made it. How do I lock on now? Oh, okay. So you have to click in a touchpad to lock on. Now that's a little odd to do. But I want to fight with this new controller that I have barely any idea how to use, so that's a plus. Yeah, I'm gonna say stick with the regular Xbox controller if you're gonna be playing a game like this one, for example, because this does not feel great as far as the trackpad as analog stick is concerned. Hey, look, that's where I died. Also, it's taking some getting used to because the position of the face buttons are different. So that's a little odd. What was I doing? Right. That still feels really weird. I was doing a thing, and apparently I'm going to give it an honest go with this controller. I don't know why. That was a waste of an item, but whatever. I got this far by sheer luck. Might as well keep going. And here's where I die. Oh, told you. Yeah. Okay, so I think that's enough Dark Souls for this one. It does not... The Steam controller is not well suited to this sort of game, I don't think. Oh, it's not horrifyingly bad, but it's still kind of poor compared to... That might just be what I'm used to talking, but I don't know. I don't think it fits very well. At least not specifically this game. Let's try something else. I don't know why I thought this was a good idea. But I can tell you, for one thing for certain, I was very, very wrong. How the fuck do you... Okay, I hit him eventually. Good God, that's awkward. So... that was a terrible idea. Shall we move on? Okay, full disclosure. I had ideas for how to do this, and some of them were good ideas. I planned on doing a game that was pretty much designed for a controller and this should be easy, and it wasn't. I tried to play a game that theoretically could work with a controller, but didn't, and I'll get to why in a second. And now I'm basically playing another game that was designed specifically for a controller again, because my options at this point are rather limited. You see, what I was going for was to test out the controller based on various parameters of how the games were designed around using controllers, whether they could be, but probably shouldn't be, or weren't. And straight up, you shouldn't do that because it's terrible and doesn't work. The thing is, yeah, this controller might work for some games a little bit. It's becoming okay for this one, to be honest with you, but this is a pretty straightforward game anyway. But the thing is, you don't actually use the right analog stick at all in this game, so... But yeah, so... Here's the thing about the Steam controller. It basically goes against all of my instincts in how to use it. Like, I'll admit, I've played a lot of fucking video games, alright? But... Okay, let's be specific. On a regular controller, you have the analog stick, the right analog stick, towards the bottom of the controller in the middle. Whereas for the Steam controller, they've put the touchpad thingy up and to the right, to the very top right of the controller. Like, literally just underneath the trigger buttons. Not the trigger buttons, the shoulder buttons. And yeah, that could maybe work if it's someone that's never used a controller before, and thus doesn't have all of the instincts to use it differently, to expect the analog stick to be towards the middle will screw you over anytime you try and do anything with this controller. Also, I'm screwing up here not because of the controller, but because I have gotten to the point where I suck at this game. But that's neither here nor there. So, I honestly don't think anyone that's played video games for a long time with standard controllers could actually judge this controller, because the way it's meant to be used is exactly the opposite in that very specific instance for how you would expect to use a controller. So, I have no idea whether this is a good design or not. No clue. So, I don't know. Like I say, for games that don't use analog sticks, it seems solid enough. It basically has a third set of trigger buttons at the bottom, which are kind of interesting. Damn it. Who cares? I've already finished the game like 6 times. So yeah, it has another set of... They're not triggers, they're not really shoulder... Let's call them paddle buttons that are basically on the back of the controller where you put your ring and pinky fingers, as you Americans would call them. So those are kind of interesting, and I'm using them to hit the attack button now, and it's kind of both comfortable and not comfortable, but that's probably because of it feeling odd because I've never had to use those fingers while I'm playing video games before. So, I don't know, I think that could be cool. Or it might feel terrible because, you know, that doesn't work so well when you're actually playing video games. It might cause strain. I don't know. Again, it's hard to judge because it does a couple of very significant things quite differently. I'm testing out the trigger buttons, that's what I'm doing. It feels a little strange that... Flaming hell. That you have the trigger buttons that have this two-stage mechanic thing. It feels a little odd that you're not really supposed to hit the end point of pulling the trigger kind of thing. It's a bit hard to explain what I mean. So yeah, the triggers have the two-stage mechanic. You can pull the triggers and it'll do whatever the trigger's supposed to do. Or you can pull the trigger harder and hit right at the back, and then there's a button at the end of it. That feels odd. Doesn't necessarily feel bad. Again, it's just an odd sensation because the controller feels so different to what I'm used to. And again, probably not even the fault of the controller, more my fault because I'm so used to the same goddamn thing. So I can't really decide whether this would actually work for games that are designed to be played mouse and keyboard. It might work fine, it might feel terrible, but I have no fucking clue because I have no context for that, how to play a control. I don't even know. So, yeah, those are pretty much my first impressions. I don't fucking know. That's bottom line as far as I can tell at the moment. And we'll see how, I might try having it, on the other hand, that'd screw me up for any games where I do use a regular controller. That would be bad. No. No, I think this is another controller that's just going to sit on the shelf for years, unfortunately. That's a shame. I don't know why they went against the grain with the design of having it all like that. Also, I really hate the fucking circular D-pad. That's really terrible. It feels terrible to do anything with it. I don't want to do it, so not a fan of that at all. So, bottom line, circular D-pad is terrible. Right analog touchpad is, I don't fucking know. Two-stage triggers could be okay for games that you're not usually playing with a controller. For games you usually play with a controller, it feels a little weird. I don't have, dust hasn't settled on how I feel about that. And the face button's way down at the bottom of the controller feels a little strange because my instincts are to go the other way, to move from face buttons to analog stick and vice versa. So, I don't know. I don't like it. Yeah, bottom line is I pretty much don't like it. Unfortunately. Oh well. If anyone in the comments has a suggestion for another sort of game I should try out to see how it feels with this controller, I suppose I could try a strategy game, but I don't really have that many of those. Well, I do, but I don't know how to fucking play them. So, I don't know. If you have suggestions to try out, and I'll see what I can do, and see if that game feels any more appropriate for this sort of controller. I'm still going to get hung up on that touchpad thing because it's really annoying. But I'll see what I can do and see how it feels. We'll go from there, I guess. Maybe it's the next great controller design and I'm just being that asshole that says, it'll never work. But I don't know. I don't see it right now. So thanks for watching. And that's pretty much it. So bye now.